everyone, it's Nina. Thanks so much for joining me today. Today I have the pleasure of guesting with Concord and Ninth, and I have some new stamp sets from them that I'm going to be showcasing in this card, featuring some stamp layering to create a fun, beautiful background. Here I've got the new Flourish stamp set. This is a really fun layering stamp set that has a ton of solid images here that you can use to build your own custom bouquets of beautiful leaf gatherings and flowers. I'm going to be using this stamp set in my Misty stamping tool to go ahead and begin stamping my background. This is the large Misty. I've chosen the large Misty because this background stamp is quite large and I wanted to be able to have it coming off the side of the card. So I needed the extra room instead of the smaller Misty. I'm going to go ahead and start inking this up with some Altenew dye inks. This is Forest Glades. I'm going to be inking up this entire stamp using this ink. I'm going to go ahead and ink that up and then I'll go ahead and press that down onto my card. There we got our leaf already stamped, and you can see the spaces in between that didn't stamp. Those are for you to be able to stamp the images, other images that are included in this stamp set in between those spaces. So like the big large flower and some of the smaller cluster flowers and leaves, we're going to be able to stamp in between those empty spaces to go ahead and create some really beautiful flower arrangements. I'll go ahead and stamp another leaf over on the left-hand side, and I'll go ahead and clean my stamps, and I'm going to start stamping my flowers. Here I've got that flower stamp, and I'm going to go ahead and position that in between the leaves there, and I'm going to be stamping this in some blue cornflower ink from Hero Arts. This is a really gorgeous blue color, and because this is a stamp layering stamp set, I'm choosing a lighter color for my base coat of ink. Now, for this stamp, I actually wanted to stamp it twice because I wanted a slightly darker shade of blue than the cornflower was going to give me. So I'm going to go ahead and ink that up, and you can see that the stamping was a little splotchy. That is typical of inks such as Hero Arts. There are other inks by other dye companies that do the same thing. It's not that they don't stamp well, it's just that they have to soak into the paper, and as they soak in, the stamping becomes much, much more smoother, and that splotchiness goes away. Alright, so now I've got another color of Hero Arts ink. This is Stone Wash. I'm going to go ahead and stamp this down onto my flower. Now, you can see here what I'm going to be doing is I'm actually going to be creating multi-layers of this particular stamp. I'm going to stamp this first in the Stone Wash, and I'm going to go ahead and line it back up now. I've lined this back up over top of that Stone Wash, but I'm going to be positioning it just slightly off to the left or right, or wherever position I want it to be. And I'm going to go ahead and ink it up with navy. And you can see it creates a double layer, which really adds some nice interest and dimension to our stamping. It really creates a fun effect. So now I'm going to go ahead and stamp some of the little cluster flowers here. These are some little dots, and I'm going to go ahead and stamp those down with some buttercream ink from Altenew. I'll go ahead and make sure I get all of those stamped down in between the spaces that I want. And once I have that stamped, I'm going to go ahead and stamp the second layer. You can see I used a slightly darker shade of yellow and added that inside those flower circles. And now I'm going to go ahead and take some moss ink from Hero Arts and stamp this down over top of the leaves. This is a little bit of an extra detail stamp that you can add on top of the leaves to create some texture and also some extra shading. This would also be a fun stamp set to go ahead and stamp just the base images and also color that in with either watercolors or Copic markers or pencils. Add shading using those mediums instead of doing the stamp layering. So there's lots of options with a stamp set like this. So now I'm going to create some lilac looking sprigs using the dot stamp that is included in the set. I'm going to stamp this a bunch of times with some soft lilac ink from Altenew. Go ahead and create a little cluster. And then once I do that, I'm going to go ahead and take some of the other colors of purple ink that I've got here and add just one stamp of each color on top, just to give this a little bit of extra texture and also give the depth of darker and lighter petals for a flower cluster. This is a really fun way to be able to use those dot stamps to create some fun effects. Finally, I'm going to go ahead and take some grapevine ink from Altenew, and I'm going to stamp the little dot cluster inside the center of the little circle flowers, and I'll just do that for each one. Alright, so now I wanted to add some additional interest to my card. I'm going to take some Fine Tech watercolors. These are gorgeous gold watercolors. There's a total of 5 different colors in this palette. I'm going to get some water and start softening up that color to pick up a bunch of that watercolor. And then I'm going to go ahead and flick this down onto my pattern paper here. This creates a lot of really fun interest in an organic but yet classy feel. This is a really gorgeous way to be able to add some beautiful gold splatters to your stamping. You can also do this with other inks or other mediums to create different effects. Alright, so now it's time to build our card. I've got a die here from Whimsy Stamps. This is a stitched rectangles die. And I'm going to go ahead and run this through my die cutting machine. Now I didn't mention, but this card panel that we've been working with is 5.5 by 4.25, so it's an A2 size panel. And I'll talk about that more in a minute. Next, I'm going to die cut the word friend from the new Friend Like You die set. This is also by Concord and Ninth, and I love the font on this. This is a really classy yet simple font, and I'm going to be die cutting this from some glitter cardstock because I want to create a glittery sentiment to go along with this card and match up with the gold used in the card. Finally, the last thing we're going to be die cutting is some navy cardstock using a die from Pretty Pink Posh. This is just a border die that creates some stitching on either side. Go ahead and run that through, and we'll go ahead and use that for our sentiment. So here's that A2 size piece. This is the outer frame that we die cut. We're saving both pieces when we die cut that stitched rectangle die into that A2 size panel. We're saving both pieces. This first piece is going to get taped down to our A2 size card using some double-sided adhesive. And then that inner piece that we die cut with the stitched rectangle, we're going to be putting some craft foam on the back side. And that's going to give it some dimension. And what this does is it creates a dimensional focal point on our card just to give things a slightly different feel than usual. Now it's time to attach our border die onto our card. I'm using a double layer of foam tape here on either side of the panel, and then I will take this piece of foam tape off of the back side of this and attach that straight down, so this ends up being raised off of our card panel just to give it a little bit more dimension. Once I have that attached down, I'm going to go ahead and take all those little gold glitter paper letters and glue those down right down onto that border panel. And that's going to spell out the word friend. I'm also going to take a sentiment from that Flourish stamp set. This is the word hello. And I'm going to be stamping this in the same cornflower ink that we used on the flowers. Finally, I've got some natural hemp here that I'm going to be tying around the bottom portion of this card. I've chosen the hemp because it goes with the organic feel of the stamping and also the organic feel of the splatters that we added, but yet it's still classy, so that way it matches up with the gold color tones that we've chosen in the glitter paper. It's a really fun combination of textures and styles, which I really love. So I'll just tie that into a simple bow. During the whole process, I was creating a total of 2 cards. So here they both are. You can see they both look pretty similar to each other, and I love how this ended up turning out. So I hope you've enjoyed and got some inspiration on using the new Flourish stamp set from Concord and Ninth. If you have any questions, be sure to leave them in the comment section below, and be sure to head on over to my blog where you can get more information on this card, including still pictures and products used. And I also have information on a special promotion that's going on over at Concord and Ninth, so be sure to head on over to check that out. If you enjoyed this video, here's another one you might enjoy featuring Concord and Ninth products. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you can find me on social media at Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and YouTube, as well as my blog. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon.